things come through the door of a pawn shop. Gold, silver, diamonds, you name it. But sometimes the most interesting things are the ones people overlook. I'm talking about pocket change, specifically the Lincoln wheat penny. It might look like just 1 cent, but to a collector, it can be worth a whole lot more. These little copper coins are a piece of American history you can hold in your hand. They tell a story about the country, from the turn of the 20th century, through 2 world wars, and into the modern age. People have been collecting these for generations, and their popularity isn't fading. In this business, history is money, and wheat pennies have a lot of history. For many people, finding a wheat penny in their change is a small thrill. It's a connection to the past. Your grandparents or even great-grandparents might have used that exact coin to buy a piece of candy. But for a serious collector, it's a treasure hunt. They're looking for specific years, specific mint marks, and even tiny mistakes made at the US Mint. These details can turn a 1-cent coin into something worth hundreds, or even thousands, of dollars. It's all about knowing what to look for. That's the secret to any collectible. You have to do your homework and understand the market. The wheat penny market is fascinating because it's accessible to everyone, from kids starting a new hobby to seasoned experts. The value of these pennies has gone up and down, but the trend has always been upward for the rare ones. A coin is only worth what someone is willing to pay for it. And let me tell you, people are willing to pay a lot for the right wheat penny. We've seen them sell for incredible prices at auction. It's a testament to their enduring appeal. It's not just about the copper they're made of, it's about scarcity and demand. When millions of something are made, they aren't worth much. But when only a few thousand are made, or there's a special error, the price goes through the roof. That's the game we play in the collectibles world. So, why are we still talking about a coin that hasn't been made since 1958? Because it's a perfect collectible. It's small, it's historic, and there's a huge variety to hunt for. You can start a collection for just a few bucks. But there are holy grail coins that will challenge even the most dedicated collector. Every wheat penny has a story, from the artist who designed it to the historical events that were happening when it was minted. In the following sections, we're going to dive into that story. We'll look at where they came from, the key dates to watch for, and the legendary finds that keep people searching. You never know what you might have hiding in that old jar of coins. To understand the wheat penny, you have to look at what came before it. For decades, the main penny in circulation was the Indian head cent. It was a classic design, for sure. But by the early 1900s, there was a feeling in the country that it was time for a change. President Theodore Roosevelt was a big part of this. He wanted American coins to be beautiful works of art, like the coins of ancient Greece and Rome. He felt our money was a little boring, and didn't represent the nation's growing power and artistic spirit. So, he started a movement to redesign all of our coinage, from the penny to the gold double eagle. The year 1909 was a big one. It was the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Lincoln was, and still is, one of America's most beloved presidents. Putting him on a coin seemed like a perfect way to honor his legacy. It was a popular idea. Plus, it would be the first time a real person, not a symbolic figure like Lady Liberty, appeared on a regular issue U.S. coin. This was a major break from tradition. President Roosevelt commissioned a talented artist named Victor David Brenner to create the design. Brenner was a Lithuanian immigrant who had actually sculpted a plaque of Lincoln a few years earlier, which Roosevelt had admired. Brenner got to work. For the front of the coin, the obverse, he created the profile of Lincoln that we all know today. It was based on a photograph and his earlier sculptures. It was a simple, powerful, and dignified portrait. It was exactly what Roosevelt wanted. For the back of the coin, the reverse, Brenner needed a design that was just as strong. He chose 2 stalks of Durham wheat, which is why we call them wheat pennies. The wheat symbolized national prosperity, and the idea that America was the breadbasket of the world. It was a beautiful and meaningful design that perfectly captured the spirit of the era. The final design was approved, and the U.S. Mint prepared to start production. The top of the reverse read E pluribus unum, which means, out of many, one. Below that was the denomination, 1 cent, and United States of America. It was a clean, modern design for a new century. The public was excited to see the new penny honoring President Lincoln. The stage was set for the launch of one of the most famous and widely collected coins in American history. Little did anyone know just how much of a story this little piece of copper would have to tell over the next 50 years. The first Lincoln cents were released to the public on August 2, 1909. People lined up at banks and treasury offices to get them. They were an instant hit, but it didn't take long for a controversy to start. If you look very closely at the bottom of the reverse side of some of the first pennies, you'll see 3 tiny letters, VDB. These were the initials of the designer, Victor David Brenner. It was common for artists to put their mark on a coin. However, some people thought the initials were too prominent. They complained that it was like free advertising for the artist on the nation's currency. The public outcry was surprisingly loud. The mint's chief engraver, Charles Barber, who reportedly wasn't a big fan of Brenner's design in the first place, agreed that the initials were too big. So, just a few days after the penny was released, production was halted. The mint made the decision to remove the VDB initials entirely. This created an instant collectible. The pennies with the VDB initials were only made for a very short time in 1909. This makes them a key date for any collector. Finding a 1909 VDB penny is a great start to any collection, but there's an even rarer version we'll talk about later. After the VDB was removed, the penny design stayed pretty much the same for the next several years. The mint in Philadelphia made them. But so did the branch mints in Denver and San Francisco. This is where mint marks come in. A small letter D for Denver or S for San Francisco was placed on the obverse, right below the date. Pennies from the Philadelphia Mint had no mint mark at all. This is a crucial detail for collectors. For many years, the San Francisco Mint produced far fewer pennies than Philadelphia or Denver. This means that pennies with an S mint mark are often rarer and more valuable. In 1918, something interesting happened. The VDB initials came back, but this time, they were much, much smaller. You need good eyes or a magnifying glass to see them. They were placed on the obverse of the coin, at the very bottom of Lincoln's shoulder, right where the shoulder meets the rim. They are incredibly tiny. Brenner's initials remained in this spot for the rest of the wheat pennies production run, all the way until 1958. It was a subtle way to restore the artist's credit without causing another public fuss. It's one of those little details that makes coin collecting so fascinating. It's a hidden piece of the story, right there on the coin. As America entered the Roaring '20s, the wheat penny continued to be a workhorse of the economy. It was used in every shop and every transaction across the country. During this decade, the production of pennies was massive, especially at the Philadelphia Mint. This means that most wheat pennies from the 1920s are quite common and not particularly valuable, unless they are in pristine, uncirculated condition. However, as always, the key is to look for those mint marks. The San Francisco Mint, in particular, had a few years of very low production. The 1922 D is a famous one, but not for low production. It's known for an error where the D mint mark is missing. Then came the stock market crash of 1929 and the start of the Great Depression. This had a huge impact on everything, including coin production. As the economy slowed down, there was less demand for new money. People weren't spending as much, so the mint didn't need to make as many coins. As a result, the number of pennies minted in the early 1930s dropped dramatically. This is a classic supply and demand situation for collectors. Because fewer coins were made, they are scarcer today. The 1931 S penny, for example, had a very low mintage of just over 866,000. For comparison, in some years, the Philadelphia Mint made over 1 billion pennies. This makes the 1931 S a major key date for wheat penny collectors. It's one of the most sought-after coins in the entire series, right up there with the 1909 SVDB and the 1914 D. Finding a 1931 S in any condition is a big deal. The Depression years created several of these semi-key dates, which are harder to find than common coins, but not as rare as the big ones. Years like 1932 and 1933 from both the Denver and Philadelphia mints also had lower production numbers. For a collector trying to complete a full set of wheat pennies, these Depression-era coins are a significant challenge. As the 1930s went on and the economy slowly began to recover, coin production started to ramp back up. By the end of the decade, the mints were once again churning out hundreds of millions of pennies per year. The design of the coin remained unchanged throughout this entire turbulent period. The simple image of Lincoln on the front and the wheat stalks on the back became a symbol of stability in a time of great uncertainty. People might not have had many of them, but the penny was a constant. It's a reminder that coins are more than just money. They are artifacts of their time, reflecting the economic highs and lows of the nation. When you think of a penny, you think of the color copper, but in 1943, that changed. America was in the middle of World War II, and the war effort needed every last bit of strategic material. Copper was one of the most important. It was used for shell casings, wiring in airplanes and ships, and all sorts of military equipment. To support the war, the US government ordered the mint to stop using copper to make pennies. They needed to find a different material for the 1-cent coin, something cheap and plentiful that wasn't needed for fighting the war. This decision led to one of the most famous and unusual coins in US history. The mint decided to make the 1943 pennies out of zinc-coated steel. This gave the coins a striking silver or grayish color. People were not used to seeing a silver-colored penny, and it caused some confusion. Some people mistook them for dimes. They were also magnetic, which was another oddity. Vending machines, which were becoming more common, would often reject them because of their weight and magnetic properties. Despite the initial confusion, over 1 billion of these steel cents were produced across the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. Because so many were made, a regular 1943 steel penny is not rare at all. You can buy one for less than $1. But here's where the story gets really interesting for collectors. A few, and I mean a very, very small number, of 1943 pennies were accidentally struck on the wrong kind of metal. At the end of 1942, some of the old copper planchets, the blank discs used to make coins, were left in the hoppers at the mint. When they started making the new steel cents in 1943, these leftover copper blanks were fed into the presses and struck with the 1943 date. The result was a 1943 copper penny. This is an incredibly rare and valuable error coin. It's the ultimate prize for a wheat penny collector. Finding a genuine 1943 copper penny is like winning the lottery. We're talking about a coin that can be worth over $1 million depending on its condition. Many fakes have been made over the years, usually by coating a steel cent with copper or by altering the date on a 1945 or 1948 penny. A real one has to be authenticated by experts. An easy test is to use a magnet. If the copper 1943 penny sticks to a magnet, it's just a plated steel cent and not the real deal. There's also a reverse error. A few 1944 pennies were accidentally struck on leftover steel planchets from the year before. These 1944 steel cents are also extremely rare and valuable. The steel penny experiment only lasted for 1 year. By 1944, the mint was ready to go back to making copper cents. However, there was still a war on, and copper was in high demand. So, the mint came up with a clever solution. They started using recycled copper from spent artillery shell casings that were being returned from the battlefields. These new pennies were made from an alloy that was slightly different from the pre-war coins, giving them a unique composition. Because of their origin, these pennies made from 1944 to 1946 are often nicknamed shell case cents. It's a direct link between the money in people's pockets and the war effort overseas. Like the steel cents, a huge number of these shell case pennies were produced. The war economy was booming, and lots of coins were needed. This means that pennies from 1944, 1945, and 1946 are very common. You can find them in pocket change even today. They aren't worth much over their face value unless they are in perfect uncirculated condition. But honestly, the story behind them is what makes them special. Every time you see one, you can think about how the metal in that coin might have once been part of an artillery shell used on a battlefield in Europe or the Pacific. It's a powerful piece of history. After the war ended, America entered a period of prosperity. The post-war years, from the late 1940s through the 1950s, were the final chapter for the wheat penny. The mints in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco continued to produce them by the hundreds of millions, and in some years, by the billion. The design remained exactly the same as it had been for decades: Lincoln on the front, wheat stalks on the back. For an entire generation of baby boomers growing up in this era, the wheat penny was simply the penny. It was a familiar, everyday object that seemed like it would be around forever. But the end was approaching. By the late 1950s, officials at the Mint felt it was time for another change. The 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth was coming up in 1959. Just as the 100th anniversary had brought in the Lincoln design, the 150th was seen as an opportunity to update it. The decision was made to keep the Lincoln portrait on the obverse, but to create a new reverse design. The year 1958 would be the last year for the iconic wheat stalks. After 50 years of continuous production, the run of the Lincoln wheat penny was coming to a close, marking the end of an era in American coinage. For many collectors, the real excitement in the Wheat Penny series isn't just finding the key dates, it's about hunting for errors. These are mistakes made during the minting process that create unique and often valuable coins. The 1943 copper cent is the most famous error, but there are many others that are more attainable for the average collector. One of the most popular types of errors is the doubled die. This happens when the die used to strike the coin is made improperly, and has a doubled image on it. When this die strikes a coin, the letters and numbers on the coin appear doubled. The most famous example of this is the 1955 doubled die obverse penny. On these coins, the date 1955 and the words, "Liberty and in God we trust," are very clearly and dramatically doubled. It looks like the coin has double vision. The story goes that a Mint employee noticed the error after a batch of about 40,000 had already been struck. Instead of scrapping them, the Mint decided to release them anyway, mixed in with regular pennies. They were mostly distributed in the Northeast. Many were famously found in cigarette packs, which were sold in vending machines for 23 cents, with 2 pennies given as change. Finding one of these is a major score for any collector. Another type of error to look for is the repunched mint mark, or RPM. Before 1990, the mint marks, the D and S, were punched into each individual die by hand. Sometimes the worker would make a mistake and have to punch it a second time, creating a faint second image of the mint mark next to or on top of the first one. There are hundreds of different RPM varieties throughout the Wheat Penny series. Some are very dramatic and easy to see, while others are very subtle. These are fun to hunt for with a magnifying glass, and can add significant value to an otherwise common coin. Beyond doubled dies and RPMs, there are all sorts of other errors. Off-center strikes occur when the blank coin is not centered correctly in the press, leaving part of the design missing. Broad strikes happen when the coin is struck without the retaining collar, making it spread out and look wider than normal. You can also find clipped planchets, where a piece of the blank coin is missing before it's even struck. Each of these errors tells a story about a small mistake, a moment of imperfection in the massive industrial process of making money. For collectors, these imperfections are what make a coin beautiful and valuable. One of the greatest things about collecting wheat pennies is the stories. I'm talking about the stories of people making incredible finds in the most ordinary places. You hear about them all the time. Someone inherits a jar of old coins from their grandfather, decides to look through it, and finds a rare key date worth thousands of dollars. Or a kid gets a roll of pennies from the bank to start a collection and discovers a 1955 doubled die. These stories are what keep the dream alive for collectors. It's the idea that a fortune could be hiding in plain sight, just waiting to be discovered by someone with a keen eye. A famous story that circulates in the coin world is about a man who bought an old house. While doing renovations, he found several canvas bags of old pennies in the wall. He almost took them straight to the bank to cash them in, but he decided to look through them first. It turned out the bags were full of uncirculated wheat pennies from the 1940s and 50s, including some valuable mint sets. The collection was worth tens of thousands of dollars. It was a life-changing discovery, all because he decided to take a closer look. This is why you should never just cash in old coins without checking them first. You never know what you might have. The value of these coins has steadily climbed over the years. A coin like the 1909 SVDB, that might have cost a collector a few dollars in the 1950s, can now be worth over $1,000, even in circulated condition. The rarest coins in top condition have seen their values explode. It's all driven by a strong and dedicated community of collectors. As more people become interested in the hobby, the demand for the limited supply of rare wheat pennies goes up. It's basic economics. This is especially true as the coins get older, and more of them are lost or damaged, making the surviving examples even more scarce. So, how do you find them? The best place to start is anywhere you can find old coins. Go to the bank and ask for rolls of pennies. You'd be surprised how many wheat pennies are still floating around in circulation. This is called roll hunting, and it's a popular hobby. You can also check flea markets, garage sales, and antique shops. People often sell old coffee cans or jars of coins without knowing what's inside. With a little bit of knowledge about the key dates and errors and a good magnifying glass, you have a real chance of finding something special. It's a treasure hunt that anyone can join. In 1959, the wheat penny was officially replaced. The Lincoln portrait on the front remained, but the reverse was changed to a depiction of the Lincoln Memorial. This new design was created by Frank Gasparo to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The Lincoln Memorial cent would go on to be produced for the next 50 years, until it too was replaced by a new series of designs in 2009. The end of the wheat penny's run in 1958 marked the conclusion of a significant chapter in American numismatics. It had served the country for half a century, through times of peace and war, poverty and prosperity. So why, decades after the last one was minted, are these coins more popular than ever? I think it's because they represent a tangible connection to our past. Each coin is a miniature time capsule. A 1918 penny was circulating during the end of World War I. A 1929 penny saw the beginning of the Great Depression. A 1945 penny marked the end of World War II. Holding one of these coins is like holding a piece of that history. It's a story you can touch and feel, which is far more powerful than just reading about it in a book. This historical significance is a huge part of its appeal. The wheat penny also serves as a perfect entry point into the world of coin collecting. The series is large enough to be a fun challenge, but it's not impossible to complete a basic set. Most of the dates are common and affordable, so a beginner can make a lot of progress quickly. This builds confidence and excitement. But the series also has its legendary rarities: the 1909 SVDB, the 1914D, the 1931S, and the error coins that provide a challenge for even the most advanced, deep-pocketed collectors. It's a hobby that can grow with you, from a kid filling a cardboard folder to a serious investor hunting for six-figure coins. Ultimately, the legacy of the wheat penny is one of accessibility and discovery. It's a democratic collectible. You don't need to be wealthy to start searching for them. The thrill of the hunt is open to everyone. It teaches you to pay attention to small details, to learn about history, and to appreciate the stories behind everyday objects. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone who found an old-looking penny in your change, the Lincoln wheat penny has a way of sparking curiosity. And in the world of collectibles, curiosity is where every great find begins. You never know what's out there.